that don't look good. We're not going fooling around right this time. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? A lot of people have probably not thought about this.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Snowy Labrador, which, by the way, has not been snowy at all for the past week or so. Since my last video when I told you I was planning to be on a major snowmobile trip this week, it has done nothing but rain, rain, and rain. This has made conditions unfavorable and nearly impossible to do much exploring at all, which means sticking close to existing trails is pretty much our only option. For right now, that is. Fingers crossed the temperatures drop again, and I think they will, and we can get back to that cross-country trek. But in the meantime, I figure I'll go out, cut a mega load of wood, have a fire and a feed, and share a couple of tips and just plain funny stuff with you guys. I'll even include more of your hilarious submissions. So stay tuned in. I think you'll enjoy.
Oh boy, that don't look good. I just come along the trail from that way and I had to go really fast because I saw all this water, or slob we call it here, and it looks like the groomer got stuck into it, or nearly did, but got through it thankfully. When you get stuck in slob, oh my, that's a bad day, but I'm over there, so I'm good. Oh, weirdos. I see she's running about 21 liters per 100 kilometers. So that's about 3/4 of a 5-gallon gas can for 100 kilometers, which means you get 250 kilometers on a tank. That's on the same kind of conditions as I have today. Okay, I just circled around here a couple times. I see some trees that I'm going to fall in here. And if you give that a half hour, that trail will stiffen up, because I'm going to cut my way along there and had to move sled along. So that will help me. You can hear the train in the background. Keep her going, boys, keep her going. So it keeps our towns thriving. Iron ore mines. That's one full. Time for another. That's not bad, buddy. I cut all that on one tank of gas. I'd say she's close to empty, but pretty good. I think this calls for a cup of tea. Andrew Young gave me some of these fire starters. Trying to get your kettle to boil fast. Boil some small sticks right around your kettle like that. They'll catch a fire very quickly. And boil her in no time. Now I got a double-decker bologna and cheese sandwich. 2 layers of each. None of these little tiny skimpy things. We're not going fooling around. We're at this stuff. Let's toast that bad boy up a little bit. My son, I can hardly get the cage closed. Trying to imagine this now, how hungry I am right now. Working hard, out in the fresh air, smell the smoke, cup of tea, and this delicious sandwich right now. I know what you're waiting for.
Krispy Kreme in Florida, Chuck.
Okay, we're just finishing up. We're in the midst of our Easter dinner now, and it's so good.
There you go. It's like a symphony. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Pretty fitting, isn't it? Now, I've heard that a few times in my day. With a name like Chuck, you're bound to get ribbed over it, right? It's just that name. You know, Chuck Norris, Chuck Berry, Chucky. But I think out of all the things I've heard over the years, the how much wood would a woodchuck chuck rhyme, I've heard it 1,000 times. 1,000 times, you might say. Wally Chuck, you're exaggerating. Well, think about it. Of course, when I was young, I heard it almost daily. You go to school, someone said it, someone else heard it, they kept on saying it, the other person had to say it to try it, you know. So my whole life, I've heard that so many times, kind of spread out over the years. Let's just do some simple math here. Let's say if I heard it 20 times a year, which is modest. 20 times a year times 50 years, that's 1,000. So that's a lot. And what I get a chuckle out of is when someone comes up to me and they have this rhyme in their mind and they're approaching me and they look at me and they say it. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And they have this look of brilliance on their face, like they're the first person who's ever said that to me. Yeah, right. But if you look at what that rhyme says, it's a question that people ask me a lot in the last couple of years since I moved to my cabin full-time. Basically, how much wood do you cut per winter? And this is only my second year, full winter's worth of wood. And last year I was thinking 4 to 5 cords, and this year it's looking at a little over 4 cords or so. So I'm guessing I might top off at 5. So I've had people follow up then with the question, how can you only burn that much wood when you're living in cold northern Labrador? Well, it's a factor of like 3 different things. Number 1, my home, my cabin, is only 1,000 square feet, which is not a real big home. It's big enough for a couple people. Like the home that I built is a very solid structure and very efficient structure. My log cabin came as a kit, and it's actually called the Super Log Kit. And the walls are rated at like R28. And I have a really, really efficient wood stove. My Blaze King wood stove just tops the cake. People who have spent all day with us at our cabin, they ask me like, Chuck, have you put any wood in all day? And I say, no. I put in wood 2 to 3 times a day because my stove is so efficient. And I guess a fourth thing would be I burn good wood as well. This wood is already burnt once in a forest fire. It's standing dry timber. I can cut it down today, bring it home, and put it right in my stove the same day. So it's a gift, really. I bet a lot of people approach me and say, Chuck, my wood stove is no good. I show up at my cabin on a Friday night, and it takes me like all night and part of the next day before my cabin even gets warm. My stove is no good. And I say, just hang on for a second. A lot of people have probably not thought about this. Let's take this example. So you show up at your cabin, say in Labrador, where it's really cold, or wherever you live. Say if it's minus 20 degrees Celsius. You want it to be plus 20 degrees Celsius to be comfortable. You have to combat 40 degrees Celsius. So when you start up your stove, although your stove is raging, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of heat coming off of it, other than when you're standing right next to it. It's easy to heat the air in your cabin, but what you're trying to heat up is the entire mass. What's the mass? The mass is everything in your cabin, including the cabin itself. The cabin walls, the roof, the floors. But look at what's inside of your cabin. Your couch, your mattresses, your coffee table. You may have clothes there, refrigerator, cooking stove, your kitchen cupboards, your frying pans, your roasters, and even those cans of beans that you left in the cupboard. They're all at minus 20 degrees Celsius. Now you have to heat up everything in that cabin, from the air right down to that can of beans, before your cabin reaches that comfortable equilibrium. And now all the mass is at 20 degrees Celsius. And then all of a sudden you feel like, oh my, it's warm in here now. And now you only need a couple chunks of wood every now and then to keep the place warm, because now that mass that was minus 20 is now plus 20, and it's helping you out. If your stove went out, your cabin would stay warm for perhaps a full 24 hours, because that mass is there heating things while everything else is gone. So my cabin is always at that comfortable equilibrium. I just need to put a few junks in every now and then just to keep it at the comfort zone. So it works. So I thought I'd share that with you, because after explaining it so many times, I'd rather just explain it once so the masses can hear. Well guys, we're going to hit the trail. It was a wonderful day. It's really warm out today. I'm trying to get as much wood as I can before the snow goes. I'm bringing this wood back in lengths, and I saw it back at the cabin because my goal is to get it back to the cabin. Once I get it there, I can work with it. Thanks for tuning in. Would you join us on the next one? Would? Day joke. We think you should stick with us. So on to the next video. Take care of each other. Get outside and enjoy everything outdoors. And we'll see you next time. Guaranteed. You're sillier all the time.
Get outside and enjoy.